My name is Natalie Harper, and I'm 28 years old. Until recently, I thought I was good at reading people. Not the dramatic, social media kind where everyone suddenly thinks they can detect lies after one bad date or a viral post. I mean the practical, hard-earned kind. The kind that comes from sharing space, routines, and lives with someone for over a year. I thought 18 months with Colin was enough to know his patterns, his intentions, his truth. I was wrong. It was Saturday, 7:30 p.m., and I was walking up the narrow hallway to his apartment with a mix of excitement and curiosity. He'd texted me that afternoon. "Come over tonight. I've got a surprise planned. You'll love it." I thought he meant something small, personal, maybe even romantic. My birthday was in a week, but Colin had a habit of being thoughtful ahead of time, remembering little things that mattered to me. I unlocked the door with the key he gave me months ago. Inside, the apartment was dark. I stepped in, expecting him to jump out or call my name, and then lights snapped on. Surprise! 20 people, balloons, a banner. "Happy birthday, Natalie!" Except the banner didn't actually say my name. My eyes immediately locked on the woman beside Colin, smiling and holding his hand. A flicker of recognition hit me, and then shock. It was Colin's ex-girlfriend, Vanessa, tall, poised, and smugly grinning like she owned the room. The party went silent as they noticed me. Vanessa saw me first. "Oh, hey, Natalie," she said, her tone too casual, like she hadn't just usurped my birthday. Colin's face went pale. I saw that familiar hesitation I thought I knew how to read. It clicked, and the world spun slightly. The date, the timing, the exact afternoon text, the smile on Vanessa's face. She'd thrown a surprise birthday party for Colin's ex on my birthday, in the exact apartment he had invited me to, after we'd been together for 18 months. I felt a strange, hot calm settle into my chest. Shock, humiliation, betrayal, but calm. I wasn't going to scream or cry here. I had nothing to prove to anyone. I walked over to Vanessa. "Happy birthday, Vanessa," I said, holding out my hand. She shook it, confused, as though she hadn't expected this acknowledgement. I turned to Colin. "Nice party," I said softly, letting my words carry the weight of every 18 months of shared routines, secrets, and trust he had betrayed. Then I walked out. Door clicked behind me. Outside, I leaned against the brick wall, breathing in the cold air. My phone buzzed immediately with texts from Colin. "Wait, Natalie, please, don't go like this." I rolled my eyes and typed back 2 words. "We're done." Inside, I could hear the click of heels. Vanessa was chasing me, stumbling over the floor. Colin behind her, helpless. But I didn't move. I didn't even look back. I started my car, turned the key, and left. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I didn't throw a scene. I simply let the betrayal speak for itself. The rearview mirror caught their figures. Colin frozen, Vanessa pleading, but the illusion was shattered. The party, the smiles, the celebration, it was empty. All of it had been a choice, not a mistake. By the time I got home, I sat in the dark apartment I had lived in before meeting him. 10 minutes passed. Then my phone started blowing up with messages. "Please answer. I made a mistake. You're being unreasonable." The last one stung because, yes, I had been unreasonable about trusting him. But there was no going back. Then it hit me. Vanessa had a key to my apartment. All the little things Colin had mentioned over the last few months, leaving more items, hinting at moving in, meant that Vanessa could walk in at any time. I made a decision. Call a locksmith, emergency rekey. 90 minutes later, new locks were installed. I packed all the things Vanessa had left behind in my apartment. Clothes, shoes, toiletries, makeup, books, into boxes in my living room. My hands moving almost mechanically, my mind clear and sharp. This was no longer about anger. This was about control, about setting boundaries that could not be crossed. By 2:30 a.m., I had texted her from a Google Voice number. "Your stuff is packed. Pick it up this week or it gets donated. Your key doesn't work anymore." I slept that night better than I had in weeks. No arguing, no dramatics, just clarity. By sunrise, they were pounding on the door. Vanessa and her best friend, eyes red, faces puffy, from an all-night vigil of regret and anger. "What?" I asked, standing in the frame of my door, voice steady. "We need to talk. You can't just—" "I can," I said. "Your stuff is in boxes. Take it." Vanessa's best friend tried to reason. "It was an accident. She got confused." I shook my head. She threw her ex a party on your birthday while dating me. That wasn't an accident. That was a choice. Vanessa broke down, pleading, desperate. Please, I love you. We can fix this, I swear. I handed her the boxes coldly. You have until Friday. Take it or it's gone. They tried to argue. I didn't budge. They left. I closed the door, locking it behind me. I leaned against it for a moment. Half an hour earlier, I had been hurt, humiliated, betrayed. Now, I felt a quiet, unshakable calm. I had taken the first step in reclaiming my life, my space, and my dignity. And this was only the beginning. By Sunday morning, the adrenaline of the night before had faded, but the stakes hadn't. Natalie Harper sat at her kitchen table, a cup of coffee steaming in her hands, eyes fixed on the boxes neatly stacked in the living room. Clothes, shoes, books, toiletries, all remnants of someone who had crossed a line she would never allow again. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. Another message. Still ignored. Each ping only reminded her that Vanessa wasn't going to accept this quietly. But Natalie felt calm. Not triumphant, not angry, just deliberate. Every move she had made the night before was calculated. Every decision had a purpose, reclaiming her space, protecting her privacy, and sending a clear message. The first confrontation came at 7:15 a.m. sharp. A pounding on the door shook the quiet of her apartment. Natalie opened it to see Vanessa, disheveled, eyes red from lack of sleep, and her best friend hovering nervously behind her. What? Natalie asked, standing firmly in the doorway. Her tone wasn't loud, but it carried weight. We need to talk, Vanessa started, stumbling over her words. You can't just... I can, Natalie interrupted. Your things are in boxes. Take them, that's it. Vanessa's best friend tried to intervene. It was a mistake, she didn't mean... Let me stop you right there, Natalie said, cutting her off with icy precision. She threw her ex a birthday party on my birthday while dating me. That's not a mistake, that's a choice. Vanessa crumpled, tears streaming. Please, I love you. We can fix this. I'll make it up. Natalie's jaw tightened. She held the boxes firmly, offering no room for negotiation. You have until Friday. Take it or it's gone. They argued for a few minutes, but Natalie stood her ground. Finally, they left, muttering under their breath, and the door clicked closed behind them. Natalie exhaled slowly, the tension in her shoulders finally loosening. She had set the boundary. She had reclaimed her space, and she knew this was only the beginning. The first subtle threat came through texts and calls over the next few hours. Vanessa tried to guilt Natalie, paint herself as the victim, and even suggested that Natalie had overreacted. But Natalie documented everything. Screenshots, timestamps, written logs, every word, every action, every intrusion meticulously recorded. This wasn't paranoia, it was strategic foresight. Later that afternoon, Natalie noticed a movement near her door. Someone had tried the old key. Her stomach tightened for a moment, but she quickly remembered. New locks. Secure. No entry. She checked the security footage. The figure was unmistakably Vanessa, her posture frantic, hands trembling as she fumbled with the lock. She left after realizing she couldn't get in. Natalie sat back, a strange mixture of satisfaction and wariness filling her. Vanessa was testing limits, seeing how far she could push. But Natalie had anticipated this. Every step she had taken had been calculated to maintain control, composure, and leverage. By evening, Natalie began drafting clear messages, one to Vanessa, one to any mutual friends who might be pulled into the drama. Calm, factual, unemotional. Your things are packed. Take them before Friday. Key doesn't work. No exceptions. She didn't include a plea. She didn't include emotion. She simply stated facts. Throughout the day, she reflected quietly on the past 18 months. Colin had seemed trustworthy, loving, attentive. And yet, in one calculated act, he had allowed Vanessa's presence to eclipse her own birthday. The betrayal stung, but it also sharpened her. She realized that control and clarity were more powerful than outrage. By nightfall, she had a plan. If Vanessa continued to escalate, she would have all the documentation needed for legal protection: messages, timestamps, witness accounts, and security footage. Natalie didn't want conflict, but she would not be trapped by lies or manipulation. As she turned off the lights and settled into bed, a faint sound outside her window made her pause. Could be the wind, could be nothing. But Natalie knew that Vanessa was unpredictable. this was far from over. And Natalie, for the first time since the party, felt a quiet, steely thrill. She was no longer reacting to betrayal. She was anticipating it, preparing for it, and ready to meet it with controlled, unwavering resolve. The apartment was hers. The space was hers. The rules were hers. And anyone who crossed the line would learn exactly what that meant. By Monday morning, Natalie Harper realized the situation was far from contained. Vanessa wasn't just upset. She was escalating. Texts came in relentlessly, each one more manipulative than the last. You're being unreasonable. You're ruining everything. I'll make everyone hate you if I have to. Natalie didn't respond. Instead, she documented every message, time-stamped, every call, logged. She had learned from the first confrontation that calmness paired with evidence was far more powerful than anger. The first tangible attempt at intrusion came late Monday afternoon. A text from the building management. We received a complaint about noise and disturbances from your unit. Please contact the office. Natalie's stomach sank for a moment, but then she thought, the timing. She had been home all evening. No guests, no loud music. She checked the building's entry logs. She had returned at 6:20 p.m. and had not left. No one had entered or exited her apartment. It was Vanessa, predictable, reckless, and overconfident. Natalie calmly replied to management, providing her own logs and footage from her security cameras. You can verify timestamps. There has been no disturbance. Any further complaints will be documented. Tuesday morning brought another escalation, an unknown number, persistent. You need to give me my key back. Natalie's thumb hovered over the reply. Then, deliberately, she typed, that key doesn't work anymore. Collect your belongings by Friday. If you attempt unauthorized entry, the police will be involved. No exceptions. She felt the familiar rush of control. For every attempt Vanessa made to manipulate or intimidate her, Natalie had evidence, foresight, and composure. Wednesday afternoon, Natalie's phone buzzed again. This time, a text from a mutual friend. Vanessa had called, telling everyone Natalie had kicked her out and kept all her stuff. She was spinning a story of abuse, isolation, and cruelty. Natalie's blood ran cold for a second, but only briefly. She had anticipated this. All the documentation she had amassed, the locks changed, the boxes packed, timestamps, security footage, would disprove every lie. The escalation peaked when someone filed a false police report claiming Natalie had stolen $2,800 worth of electronics from Vanessa's apartment. Within minutes, 2 detectives were at her door. Can we ask you about some missing property? One asked. Natalie stayed calm. She explained everything. Vanessa had been staying at her place sometimes. All her belongings were packed in boxes. Security footage documented every move, and she had given Vanessa until Friday to collect them. The detectives requested to see the footage. Natalie provided timestamps, messages, and the boxes still stacked in her apartment. Within minutes, it was clear. The claims were baseless. As Natalie leaned back against the wall after they left, she felt a strange mix of satisfaction and vindication. The more Vanessa tried to escalate, the more she revealed her own recklessness. Each attempt at intimidation was met with calm, precise documentation that undermined her every move. By Thursday, the pattern was unmistakable. Vanessa's harassment had intensified. Texts, calls, false complaints, visits to Natalie's workplace. But Natalie was always prepared. She blocked numbers, documented incidents, and remained composed. She even went a step further, ensuring every interaction could later serve as evidence, if necessary, in a legal setting. Internal monologue carried the weight of strategy. I am not reacting emotionally. I am not giving her control. Every message, every encounter is being recorded. She cannot manipulate reality here. She cannot rewrite what actually happened. Through it all, Natalie felt a shift within herself. The shock and humiliation of the party had transformed into strategic calm and deliberate power. She realized she was no longer a participant in someone else's chaotic choices. She was a guardian of her own space, dignity, and life. And while Vanessa continued to escalate, she was doing exactly what Natalie had anticipated, providing clear evidence of her own reckless behavior. Every false report, every attempt to intimidate, every lie about Natalie's intentions, all meticulously documented, all potentially damning for Vanessa. As Thursday night fell, Natalie sat at her kitchen table, reviewing screenshots, footage, and messages. She allowed herself a small, controlled smile. The storm of harassment was ongoing, yes, but Natalie Harper was prepared, calm, and always a step ahead. The narrative foreshadowed the coming legal showdown. Vanessa had overplayed her hand, and Natalie's meticulous preparation meant that when the time came, the truth would prevail. Natalie looked out the window into the quiet city night. She wasn't safe yet. The conflict was not resolved, but she had learned a crucial lesson. Power is not in yelling or dramatics. It's in foresight, control, and documentation. And she had both. By the time Friday rolled around, Natalie Harper knew the confrontation she had been anticipating was inevitable. The legal showdown. Vanessa had pushed too far, and all the documentation Natalie had accumulated, the timestamps, the security footage, the messages, and the boxes of belongings, would finally speak for her. The morning of the hearing, Natalie arrived early, papers neatly organized in a folder. She felt a strange sense of calm, a stark contrast to the chaos of the past week. Colin's ex-girlfriend, Vanessa, arrived with her mother and lawyer, faces flushed with frustration and indignation. Natalie didn't flinch. She had anticipated every claim: harassment, eviction, stolen property, and emotional distress. Inside the courtroom, Vanessa's lawyer presented her case, claiming Natalie had wrongfully withheld belongings, filed false reports, and caused emotional harm. Natalie's lawyer stood confidently, presenting clear, indisputable evidence: footage of Vanessa collecting her possessions, screenshots of manipulative texts, building logs showing no disturbances, and timestamps proving Natalie's constant presence in her apartment. The judge examined everything meticulously. He looked from the evidence to Vanessa, whose anger was slowly giving way to panic. Every claim she made crumbled under the weight of documentation. "You claim the defendant stole your property?" the judge asked Vanessa. "Yes, Your Honor," she replied, her voice wavering. "Do you have evidence?" Vanessa faltered. She had none. All her accusations were empty claims, easily disproven by Natalie's meticulous records. The courtroom remained tense, the air heavy with anticipation. When the restraining order Vanessa requested was addressed, the judge denied it and instead issued a 2-year restraining order in Natalie's favor. Vanessa was required to stay 100 yards away from Natalie's residence, workplace, and vehicles. Any violation would result in immediate arrest. Outside the courthouse, Vanessa's mother screamed across the parking lot, blaming Natalie for destroying her daughter's life. Natalie remained calm, her lawyer a protective barrier between them. Vanessa had painted herself as the victim, but the truth was undeniable. Her lies and manipulations had backfired spectacularly. Over the next few weeks, the consequences of Vanessa's actions unfolded. She had lost friends who saw through the deception, faced legal fees, and had her credibility shattered. Her attempts to manipulate others collapsed because the evidence was indisputable. Meanwhile, Natalie moved forward. She installed additional security cameras, changed routines, and reclaimed her apartment entirely. She allowed herself small moments of joy: coffee with friends, laughter at familiar haunts, and even the cautious beginning of dating again. She met someone through a mutual friend, and for the first time since the betrayal, she felt free and safe to connect with someone new. Natalie reflected often on the chain of events: the party, the betrayal, the escalation, and finally, the legal resolution. Each moment had been painful, yes, but they had also sharpened her awareness, reinforced her boundaries, and revealed her inner strength. Walking out of the surprise party without a scene had not been weakness. It had been strategic clarity. Every reaction afterward had been deliberate, measured, and effective. The ultimate lesson settled in her chest like a quiet, unshakable truth. Power isn't in confrontation or drama. It's in foresight, preparation, and controlled action. By remaining calm, documenting every incident, and asserting boundaries firmly, yet fairly, Natalie had turned what could have been chaos into triumph. 3 weeks after the infamous party, Natalie celebrated her birthday quietly with friends who had witnessed some of the fallout. She smiled when one of them gasped, "Wait, she threw her ex a party on your birthday?" "Exactly," Natalie replied, laughing softly. "Best gift I ever got? Freedom from someone who didn't value me enough to remember my birthday while planning someone else's celebration." It was not a dramatic victory. No shouting, no explosive confrontation, just clarity, control, and a life reclaimed. The party, the lies, and the threats were all backfired acts of self-sabotage from Vanessa, and Natalie had emerged unscathed, more confident, more resilient, and more in control than ever before. The final image lingered in her mind. The party guests, 20 witnesses, watching Natalie calmly hand Vanessa a polite acknowledgement, then walking out. No yelling, no confrontation, just quiet, undeniable power. And in that moment, Natalie knew she had won, not just legally, but emotionally, personally, and morally.